Hi there, my name is Alan Lamont. I'm going to bring a message now about disinformation, which also is actually infiltration, misinformation and disruption. Now, in order to bring disinformation effectively, what the New World Order does, and when I say the New World Order, I'm not going to go into this in depth, but I have to touch on it briefly. I'm talking about the Jesuit power structure, okay? The Jesuit papacy, okay? The Vatican global government, ruled over by, as we know, the Vatican knighthoods and the Masonic structure. But at the highest levels, we're talking about the papacy, okay? I have to mention that, but I'll leave it at that. That's the real New World Order. Now, as I've said, in order to have effective disinformation, you have to have agents that infiltrate the highest positions and be promoted in the media, and to have, you know, the most funding and the most prominence and the most publicity given to them, even at times by the mainstream media, very lightly, of course. Alex Jones being a classic example. Of course, if you look at the 9/11 truth movement, there's so much confusion, you know, of so many possible theories and impossible theories, and so everyone's chasing their tails. Everyone's just, you know, completely, you know, confused. That's the purpose, you know, also of that disinformation agenda of this one world government. Now, agents of disinformation do not always play their hand, you know, until the right moment, and much disinformation is very carefully crafted to appear legitimate. Misleading evidence is often delivered alongside accurate information. On the other hand, some disinformation agents, you know, their claims are completely wild and ridiculous. For instance, you know, David Icke, mentioning these men because they are the ones being used most on the internet. His Zion moon theory, how the moon is an alien station, is simply to discredit people from, you know, any more information. Let me bring up another title, which is non-information. That's the whole agenda behind disinformation on the internet, is non-information, so that the population do not have the true information. And this is intentional, of course, and these things have to be talked about, and it's important to bring understanding to people about the fact that there is a conspiracy, okay, over the population of the world, and this is known by thousands of people, so it's not new revelation I'm bringing. But what I'm going to reveal is we need to stop being divided by these agents and just come away. There needs to be an exodus in this New World Order movement, or 9/11 truth movement, or whatever name you want to give this movement. It is called the resistance. It is the resistance. And many people watching this video will be part of this resistance. Of course, we will all be exposed in a different area and a different person or a different, you know, operation. But, you know, we need to really just actually bring more exposure on these agents, you know, and this deception. I mean, 9/11 was a complete cover-up, you know, complete cover-up. And of course, that's exactly what it was. We all know that. We all know that Osama bin Laden and his war on terror, you know, was actually a CIA operation. But what happens is there's so many disinformation agents brought out by the intelligence organisations, and it takes a long time for them to be trained. And the reason why they're brought out is really to muddy the waters, to make it harder for people to really discern real, true, accurate information and evidence from, you know, credible researchers. I'm talking about researchers who bring out facts and evidence, you know. And so it brings confusion, so people don't know the difference between the true websites exposing the true conspiracy and the fake ones, because there's a lot of fake ones, of course, out there. And the more that people dig deeper, they ultimately begin to realise that they can't really trust anyone on the internet. All they have to do is look at their information, research it, and that's the only way to do it. But there's a lot of personality hype. That's another agenda, of course, to just hype up these personalities, and you have a lot of the disinformation brought out, and it's divide and conquer. It's just to bring confusion, have everyone chasing their tails. We saw the same thing recently by Thomas Horn and his Antichrist Rise, and I read his last book, and this whole Petrus Romanus thing is to really take the eyes of people away from, and I have to say this again, the Vatican, of course, take people's eyes off the Jesuit papacy and get it on, Pope Francis, and, come on, Petrus Romanus, It's just more diversion. That's all it is. It's divide and conquer all across the internet. That's what it is. And the internet is infiltrated by these agents, and have to understand that they're just working for the one world government, of course. And politics is criminal today. It's criminal politics. They're criminals. They're mass murderers. And I'm talking about every government, not just the United States of America, which are actually the papal states, or the United States of Europe, which are actually just the papal states. It's all the Holy Roman Empire. Okay, but anyway, moving on with this message, because I don't want to primarily get into that subject because I've covered it so much. What I'm bringing in this video is that we have responsibility to rise up and bring revelation in the matrix, which is the internet, really, because it's a fascist one world government. They're imposing on us their oppressing laws, their fascist governments, and as Christians we have responsibility to renounce it, to rebuke it, to resist it, to expose it with all of our strength, with all of our might, and wake up people, because it's deception. It's deception. And we're not to rise up, violently, of course, but we are to resist tyranny and oppression. And we are to resist disinformation and all forms of government infiltration on the internet. Now, what is the purpose of this? It's really that people give up. They give up. They go to this, New World Order exposer, and it's all, it's just, like I said in my previous message, you have Texie Mars, but there's Jordan Maxwell. There's so many. These are the most prominent. That's why I mentioned them, as I've said just before. But you have all of these agents, and they're really just part of this black operation of the military and intelligence organizations, really, to keep people locked away, so they have non-information. They don't actually understand who is the real control and power behind even the demolition of 9/11. People still can't understand and figure out who's behind that, and all of these elections are a complete fraud all across the earth today. These politicians, these prime ministers, these presidents, they are just playing a game. They're playing out a game continually, continually, continually. They are chosen because they are educated from, universities that are controlled by the New World Order, Illuminati being, of course, its headquarters in Rome. Of course, that's the true conspiracy. And I've covered that a lot in previous material, but at times I have to touch on it when I bring messages about subjects about the New World Order. Now, we have all of these suspects, these false enemies, all the way, brought out in the media. These false enemies, that's what they are, okay? And the media demonizes them, continually. And the population, just, supports their government, but no longer. That's not happening anymore. They've got to a point now, the New World Order, where they've gone too far. There's too many awake. There's too many have knowledge of the conspiracy, and they will not be under subordination because they're awake. They understand that their governments are run by, murderers and criminals that will, you know, use their own armies and slaughter their own citizens to fight against nations which are not really an enemy. Saddam Hussein, CIA. Osama bin Laden, CIA. And as Christians, when we come into this knowledge, we do have responsibility. We can't remain silent. We just can't. It's just not just, and it's not a righteous thing to do. Regardless of the cost or the price that we will pay, we have to expose this, as well as preach the end times. And I believe in the balance. I'm going to bring that out again. I do believe in the balance. As Christians, we can't just, preach the word of God and say, well, we don't want to focus on the devil and focus on the New World Order and focus on darkness and the Antichrist and all of this. Well, that's no good. That's no good. People have to be set free from the system also. People have to be warned that their governments are the enemy. They are the terrorists. Okay? So, as I've said before, 90% of everything you will see on the internet is disinformation by agents who have infiltrated these positions, pretending to be, against the New World Order when they're controlled opposition. Divide and rule. And they have everyone divided against one another on the internet. You have thousands upon thousands of people all fighting each other, all, disputing, I don't believe in your theory, you're wrong, I can debunk your theory, whatever. Everyone's just pushing the same script. Everyone's just parroting the same line, when actually we need to look to Rome. That's what the New World Order, the Illuminati and the Jesuits don't want. They don't want us finding out the truth. They want us having non-information. They want us being fed, disinformation. So we don't know where to turn. We don't know who to expose. You see the agenda? We must come away from the agents now. Okay? Come away from them. Okay? It's all a lie. All of these Pentagon, attacks, the attack on the Pentagon. What a hoax that was. 9/11, demolition, that's the truth. So what do we do about it? Well, we expose them. Of course, that's been done, over the last 10 years. But you need to know your enemy. That's the most important thing, is to really know your enemy. Who is really pulling the strings? Who is the controlling power? Who is in control of the governments of the earth? People talk about global elites. Forget that word. I don't like that. I hate that word, global elite. Let's just talk about who is really in power. And it is the Vatican. It's the Jesuits of Rome. And, like I say, I'm not going to go into that in depth because I have a lot of work on that. But people have a right to know. Citizens that are blinded, citizens that are in darkness and in ignorance, they have a right to know. Really. There is no elections. There is no democracy. We are ruled today by a fascist, tyrannical, evil and wicked one-world government. And these leaders are nothing but fronts, Jesuit-trained alumni, knights and masons, subordinate to Rome. This is the New World Order, the NWO. This is it. This is it. So as Christians, you know what? We have to expose that. And we have to also expose Bible prophecy. I believe God's going to bring a combination of the two. He's going to bring a real strong combination. You'll have people exposing Rome. You'll have people exposing that the 10 kings have given their kingdom unto the beast. They're under the power of the great whore today. And truly, honestly, when you dig deep into the New World Order and you do research for years, you find that all roads do lead to Rome. Everything else is just disinformation brought up by Alex Jones and Tex Mars and Jordan Waxwell and all of them. And many, many, many more. Come away from them. Do your own research. And as a Christian, We have to expose the New World Order. We do have to do that. But we also need to bring in Bible prophecy and show that, you know what, all this is fulfilled in the Word of God. And yeah, Rome rules, the New World Order. My name is Alan Lamont. Thanks for listening, and as always, all roads lead to Rome.